Some of the principals are speaking today, as a matter of fact, and they're pretty much speaking almost every day now. The EU has sort of ratcheted up the pressure and said they're going to deploy their toughest tool in a trade conflict if the President Trump puts these 30% tariffs on European goods, as he's threatened to do so. So Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, saw that story that we broke earlier today and said, yeah, that's just a negotiating tactic, and I don't blame them for doing it. So there's a lot of posturing going on at the moment. The bottom line is, does the European Union have a deal that's acceptable to President Trump? And so far they don't. But things can change rather quickly, as we saw with this surprise announcement late yesterday of the Japan deal, which those talks were dragging on for weeks and weeks and going nowhere ahead of the upper house election in Japan over this past weekend, and something broke free in recent days for them to be able to announce that. So the European Union, though, is really the big economy that matters from here forward into the August 1st deadline. The European Union's trade with the U.S. is bigger than China or Canada and Mexico. So it's really, when you add those 27 countries together, it's much more economically significant than these other smaller deals are. Japan's not a small economy. It's the number 5 U.S. trading partner. But the real big fish here is a deal with the European Union.
And so could this trigger a broader slowdown in transatlantic trade? And what kind of sectors will be affected? Is it autos, aviation, or agriculture?
Yeah, it's all of those industries that you mentioned are sticking points. The U.S. wants greater access to for American imports of agriculture goods and things like farm goods that go into European countries. That's been one of the big sticking points on the U.S.'s side. The Europeans, are also being asked to, free up some of their markets for critical minerals, that they can cooperate with the U.S. against China on critical minerals. So there's a lot of issues, and a lot of these are it gets down to the granular details. So that's why these talks take so long. They've been going on for 3 or 4 months now. But Secretary Bessent sounded this morning on Bloomberg Television like he thought that they were headed in an optimistic direction. So we'll have to see if they can put that together over the next 10 days.
Brendan, is August 1st a key date for these discussions with the EU?
Yeah, I mean, the White House has said pretty firmly that if you don't have a deal with us by August 1st, you're going to get the higher tariffs, the 30% in the case of the European Union. Now, they have shown flexibility on these deadlines before, so it would not be a huge shock to see them postpone that again if they think the Europeans are negotiating in good faith. There's a separate deadline for China, and that's August 12th. And Treasury Secretary Bessent said that that's going to be pushed back another 3 months or so. So there seems to be some flexibility built in, but the White House is eager to get those tariffs into place. They're excited about the revenue it's bringing into the Treasury Department.
What kind of retaliation should U.S. companies be preparing for if the EU follows through? I'm just thinking of major U.S. exporters like Boeing, Ford, and alcohol like whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the kinds of things, products that the European Union was targeting. Boeing aircraft, bourbon is another sort of iconic American export that that they could hit. All told, it's about 100 billion euros worth of American products. The European Union is ready to retaliate against if they decide that's the route they're going to go. That's about 1/3 of all American exports to Europe. So it's a significant amount of business that they could strike back against. Of course, President Trump just says, if you retaliate against me, I'm going to re-retaliate against you. So that's where we get into this spiral of a tit-for-tat trade war that just keeps escalating and escalating.